Johnny Phillips with Junior Achievement of New Jersey, where we prepare students to succeed in the global economy.
Hi, this is Tim Hickey from Merck & Co., based out of Kenilworth, New Jersey.
Tim, thank you for taking the time to speak with me. Sit down, share some information with us for a little bit. Your job at Merck. So if you would start, if you can describe your career path, your job story, maybe what you do now, and any other jobs you've had in the future that led up to this point.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'm currently a specialist in the Finance Leadership Development Program at Merck. It's actually my first full-time role out of school. So I think that's important to mention to give you an idea of where I'm at in my career. But basically, this program is designed to bring in younger talent from, a university level and help with the early development of your career through what is known as our corporate audit practice. So what that entails is basically looking at different parts of the company, looking at different divisions and functions across our manufacturing processes and across our research labs and specific organizations like treasury and functions at the company. And going in and looking at the processes that are in place and the controls that are in place for each of these areas that helps the company operate in a safe and compliant manner, right? With, regulatory authorities and a number of other bodies of regulation that are aimed at protecting consumers at the end of the day, since we are a pharmaceutical company, as well as the company. And I think it's a really great experience to have early on because it's very rare that at a company as large as Merck, and especially in the pharmaceutical industry where things are a little bit more complex than maybe some other industries, right? There's a lot of nuances to pharmaceuticals, and I think it provides a fantastic learning experience because it's quite rare that you get to see a company at such a high level view, right? You get insights into all of these different areas and functions, whereas most entry level roles, when you're starting out of your education phase of life, they tend to be more siloed, where you're getting good experience, absolutely, but it's not maybe as broad as the opportunity that I'm currently in is affording me.
Yeah.
And I feel very fortunate to be in that position right now.
Mm. Thank you for sharing that. And I like that you touched on the different nuances and complexities of a pharmaceutical company, right? And I'm wondering, what did you find to be the most surprising aspect of, your job, and based on, I don't know what you expected when you went in versus what you're doing now, but something that you find surprising about your line of work?
Yeah, so there's quite a few things that come to mind. I would say, I think when I think about the role of an auditor, typically you think of it as being more of a backward-looking operation, right, where you're looking at things that have already happened and making sure that numbers line up and that financials tie out and things like that. And I was, really surprised to figure out how much of the corporate audit side, which I think it's important to mention. There's a difference between, corporate audit for a company like Merck and also external audit, which is your more typical financial audits. If you think of public accounting firms, that's typically what they do, and they provide assurance over, public financial statements. Corporate audit, which is what I'm currently in, is more focused on, ensuring compliance within the business and ensuring that these financial and regulatory controls specific to the company and specific to our operations are in line and they're working correctly. And what I thought was really interesting about that was a lot of the corporate audit practice is actually based around future risk mitigation, and the group is really seen as an advisor to the business, right? So it's taking these insights and saying, how can we improve upon them, rather than just saying, these numbers do not tie out, or I can't figure out, where this input is coming from. It's much deeper than that and a bit more strategic than that in nature. And I think that's been one of the really pleasant surprises that I've had since starting this role. Is just it really gives you the ability to think about risk from a lot of different lenses
Yeah.
and apply it going forward.
Mm. So kind of learning from your past mistakes, right? Or learning from,
Definitely.
past mishaps. Nice. Thank you for sharing that. That's not something that I think, as mentioned multiple times, that we think about a lot when we're thinking about auditing. So thank you for
Right.
sharing, definitely. Um, so you mentioned you're early on in your career. Would you mind discussing your career path or your education path? I'm sorry. Maybe what you did in
Sure.
school and if that aligns with what you're doing now in auditing?
Yeah, actually, great question. So I finished undergrad at a school called Washington College on the Eastern Shore of Maryland. It's a small liberal arts school. I studied economics and business management,
Nice.
which are a bit more theoretical in nature. Great foundational knowledge, I would say, for a lot of different areas. Economics really describes, I think, a lot of the ways and gives you insight into a lot of the ways that basic business transactions occur, and a lot of things tie into that. And economics is that sort of high level summary. And then I actually went directly into a Master of Science in Finance program, and I did that at Villanova. It was a 12-month program, and I was really looking for more of a, I would say, technical understanding of finance, because I really
Okay.
didn't feel like I got that when I studied my economics major. But the two have complemented each other very nicely, I would say, in sort of bridging gaps between knowledge in each area.
Okay.
Um, and from that program, I actually was really interested in healthcare. I was looking at some other opportunities with financial institutions and banks and insurance companies and things that I think are typically more associated with finance majors and finance opportunities.
Yeah.
And I just happened to come across, sort of by chance, to be honest, the Merck opportunity that was posted on one of our career sites, and ended up going into it sort of with an open mind, right? I wasn't really sure if I had an interest in pharmaceuticals. I knew I liked the healthcare space because I really felt like if I was going to be doing work in finance, I could do it somewhere that at the end of the day, I could look at the company's mission, the company that I was at, and really feel like it's making a positive impact in an area other than just financial gain. Not that there's anything wrong with companies that are more focused on profit and loss, but certainly I feel like there is another aspect to Merck and to other pharmaceutical companies where you can look at the physical products and the outcomes they have on patients, and you can see the good that it's doing in the world. And that was something that was important to me.
Yeah.
So that sort of steered me towards this process with Merck. And, I think it was a 3-round interview process. And at the end of it, I mean, I really, I loved the leadership team that I met. All of the people throughout the entire interview process that I met were, just very positive and, to be honest, very, very kind people. And I don't think you'll always find that when you're looking at entering the workforce. Different companies have different cultures, and I'm sure that, everybody has sort of heard that before, but it's
Mhm.
definitely true. But really, yeah, that's sort of what attracted me to Merck, was my interest in healthcare. And then once I met, the team and learned more about the development program that I'm currently in,
Yeah.
that, I mentioned, provides you sort of that really high level view of a lot of areas and gives you some pretty broad experience early on. I was just sold on that piece. I really thought that it was a unique opportunity, and I've loved it so far.
Nice. I like the way you tied in personal fulfillment, right? What it is that you want out of your job, finding something that you find interesting and realize you can capitalize and make money off of, but also paying attention to the culture and the people you met, right? You tied
Right.
in you know different factors that really matter in terms of where you're going to work and how you feel about your job on a day-to-day basis. So thank you for sharing that. And that's really, really important to hear. Um, to end off, so if you could go back and give your younger self any piece of advice, what do you think you would say if anything?
Yeah, I'm sure there's quite a few tips that I could have used. I would say two things. One, um, obviously, grades are a focus when you're looking for jobs and things like that. But maybe something that I underestimated at the time is experience, and it doesn't even have to be, what might be considered relevant experience. I certainly did not, intern or work for any pharmaceutical companies or healthcare companies leading up to my role at Merck. To give you, a quick background, I actually worked at a car dealership doing more maintenance work. So I, was painting buildings and breaking up concrete and things that you would never really associate with the typical like corporate role where you're more at a desk most of the day.
Yeah.
But I thought that gave me some really great insight into just work ethic and a lot of things that are less tangible and maybe
Mm.
less often associated with what's considered relevant experience. So don't shy away from opportunities just because they don't necessarily match up directly with what you think you might want to do in the future.
Yeah.
You can, as long as you can speak to your experiences, I think that they will provide value to you in an interview process or, any endeavor in the future where someone is asking you to give an example of, a learning experience or, an example of your work.
Yeah.
And the second point would be, I think it is important to have some idea of what you're interested in, but you certainly don't need to know what you want to do with the rest of your life when you're looking at starting your career and even, 1, 2, 3, 4 positions into your career. I meet with people all the time at this company that still aren't sure what their end goal is, right? And that's totally okay as long as, you're making progress and you're continuing to grow and move forward. A lot of, I would say the vast majority of people don't know exactly what they want to do in the long term, right? And I'd say that most of the people that I meet that are in the later stages of their career that have great success and they're in positions of, high-level management, almost all of them have, said to me that they did not ever plan on being where they are now, right? And their path was totally nonlinear,
Yeah.
and they kept taking opportunities and working hard and finding success, and doors just continued to open up. So, if you start out in a role or an internship or anything of that nature that doesn't seem like it's exactly what you want to be doing at the time, just keep that in mind, that if you perform well and you put in the hard work and you can find success in that role, it will absolutely open up other opportunities and move you in a direction that will give you, more freedom to decide what you want to do when you actually figure that piece out.
Yeah. Right. So not being afraid of, trying new things and taking risks and, not even doing something that you didn't think you were interested in. You don't really know what you want to do until you try it. So I like that. And thanks for
Exactly.
sharing, the piece about work ethic, right? Just working a job that requires actual real labor and hard work will teach you a lot about, being able to sit at a laptop and, stay at your desk and do the work for the day. So, Tim, that's really, really great, insight and feedback on your experience. So thank you for sharing. I want to thank you again for taking the time to talk with me for a little bit. They say your time is one of the most valuable things you can give. From Junior Achievement, we really do appreciate it. So we look forward to connecting with you in the future, and good luck.
Thank you, Ajani. Appreciate the opportunity and look forward to working with you as well in the future.